"2015, a beautiful year, one that would change animation and movie history forever. Blazing Samurai was announced. Set to release in 2017, the movie was an animated film about cats and dogs, pitched as a tribute to Mel Brooks and his film Blazing Saddles. Well, it's 2022, and the movie's just coming out now known as Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank. The film begs the question, what happened? What happened in production to cause this film to be lost in production hell for 5 years? Before we get started, be sure to subscribe to ZCN. If you want to hear more from me and more name mispronunciation, follow me on Twitter @TheFriendlyGem. In 2010, God whispered into the ear of Sony Pictures Animation co-founder and ex-chief mass animation founder Yair Landau and convinced the story of Blazing Samurai, the movie's original title. At first, it revolved around a black samurai protecting an East Asian village, but the story was shifted to focus on cats and dogs to make it more universal. Chris Rock was considered to co-produce the film around this time, but sadly this never ended up happening. In 2015, the movie was formally announced by directors Chris Bailey and Mark Koster. Chris had animation work on several Disney movies from '88 to '97, and also directed episodes of Kim Possible and Clerks, the TV show, one of my personal favorites. While Mark had worked as an animator on multiple Don Bluth movies, and more recently a story artist for Big Hero 6. There was a very stacked voice cast announced as well. Michael Cera, Samuel L. Jackson, Michelle Yeoh, Rocky Grievous, George Takei, and even Mel Brooks himself. The movie also had some real potential style-wise, as director said, our characters will be 3D, our main sets will be 3D, but then we'll go very graphic, with other elements. It should make a very attractive and unique picture. The movie's inspiration was odd by itself. However, there's another interesting note about this movie's development. It was originally partly crowdsourced. Mass Animation was a website that would let you download free animation software, so you could teach yourself to animate specific shots the website would give out. Then anyone could vote on their favorite animations for a chance to win prizes. And in this case, part of this movie was going to be animated in this fashion.
We've got the idea, we've got a great story, we've got the technology, now all we need is you.
Arc Productions, not associated with Arc System Works, was the studio that was handling 99% of the work here, but specific shots that had already been storyboarded were provided by the website, and anyone with an account was free to work on the movie. People would vote on the animations, and the winners would have their shots featured in the movie. They would also receive full name and credit, and a very handsome paycheck as well. What a great opportunity for young animators, right? Well, I lied back there, because not everyone that won actually got their name credited or any money. There were two separate terms of rewards, winner and grand prize winners. The regular winners would receive a brand new Dell XPS system and no name credit for their work at all, or even standard monetary payment, which is massively shady. Payment and exposure has long been an issue in the art community, and this movie, intentionally or not, was taking advantage of young budding artists and essentially giving free labor off of them. Now, to be fair, the grand prize winners would receive $500 and name credit, but for a system like the one they were using to work and also be ethical, this should have been applied to everyone who would have had their work shown off in the movie. It's a bit scummy, and I'm not aware of this plan ever fully developed. So shady development aside, we are now in 2017, and the movie gets a wide release in theaters, and audiences pour into the seats to finally experience the classic tale, and the resounding response is... What's that? What? Oh yeah, this movie never came out in 2017. So one day in July 2016, ARC Studios employees were walking and driving to work, ready for another day of Hank the Dog and Sumo Wrestler Garfield, when they found themselves locked out of their own work building. That day, an email was unleashed at 11:24 a.m. on July 26 by Guy Collins, the co-founder of GFM Films, which was in charge of selling international rights to the film. Mr. Collins wrote to Donald Starr, Chief Executive Officer at Grosvenor Park, that he was concerned that ARC's Chief Executive Officer, Tom Murphy, had stopped working on the film, and then within a few short days, its creditor, Grosvenor Park Media Funded LP, was demanding payment of $30 $5.8 million US in debts. Whew, that's a lot of money. So the studio had to shut down completely, and over 500 employees lost their job. Worst of it all, the workers were not paid for the last month of the work they did. It seemed like all hope was lost, and the story of Hank would be a lost effort, swept away by bad fate and the sands of time. Until it wasn't. After 3 years of rest, the movie rose out of its grave and came back to bless us with news. In November of 2019, the movie was re-announced to be happening again. The movie's assets were purchased by Jam-Filled Entertainment, and production was reinstated by Cinesite, who have done VFX work for many notable Hollywood movies, like the Harry Potter series and some of the more recent MCU films. But also animation for MGM's The Addams Family franchise. The movie is now distributed by Skydance in Europe and Paramount in America under the Nickelodeon Movies name, possibly due to its family-friendly tone and potential for a spin-off show that'll premiere in 2 years on Nickelodeon and bomb, which leads them to put the final episodes all on Nicktoons for no one else to see. They also might want another sleeper hit like Paw Patrol was due to its mid-sized budget. At some point, director Chris Bailey left production to run the show Scooby-Doo and Guess Who, but he still contractually receives directing credit. Rob Mykonoff was then promoted to direct. Rob is a fairly prolific director, as he made The Lion King, Mr. Peabody and Sherman, The Haunted Mansion starring Eddie Murphy, and Stuart Little 1 and 2. My personal favorites. I'm going to be honest, I really liked those movies growing up. Guy Collins said, "We've salvaged a film which was entitled to be salvageable because distributors have always been incredibly supportive and positive about the film. Blazing Samurai will now happen." The movie was now in its first animatic stage and was aiming for a summer of 2021 release date. The world's people all collectively cheered. There was even a spin-off video game announced to come out, which we couldn't find much info on, so I assumed it got cancelled. But there's an absolute amazing web browser game you can play on the movie's website right now. And, I think it's the same game that was teased all those years ago. I think. The rest of this movie's development ended up being fairly normal movie production stuff affairs. While it missed the summer of 2021, it will finally release on July 15th, 2022. It was renamed Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank, which is a definitely worse name. I'm going to be honest. And it's been getting steadily marketing, surprisingly. It's crazy to think that this movie, essentially considered lost media at one point, is now finished and finally released worldwide in theaters. And judging by the trailers, I think we can all agree that it's 100% going to live up to its hype.
No!